we're here at Redrock with Brian, checking out some new products. Not a ton new since NAB, but you guys still had probably one of the best products at NAB, most memorable. Halo we're all excited about, and we'd love to hear some updates. So you got some feedback at NAB, we're at Cine, you know, more of a film, hardcore film crowd.
Right.
What's feedback have you been getting from that?
Well, thank you. Yeah, so we are here at Cine. It's only been like 6 weeks since NAB, so we got a lot of great input at NAB. We won, I think, 4 Best of Show awards, so it's great. And again, Halo is our focus tracking and scene mapping system that basically is designed to help people with focus, whether it's completely automated or if it's, you know, some assistance to do manual type of focusing. At NAB, there was a lot of questions about kind of camera integration. We show an interface that's a lot more than just the focusing, so we had a lot of questions about that. So we're kind of emphasizing more about the fact that it's also a full 3-channel remote system. That's kind of been lost on a lot of people. So we have the iris slider, we have the zoom controller, and we're starting to now incorporate the camera control capabilities. So right now with Sony and with Canon, we have the ability to actually manipulate the camera itself in terms of setting the ISO, you know, various camera settings, starting and stopping the camera. And that's some things that at NAB we really heard a lot about. And it's a very logical place for us to go next. Here at Cine, this is Hollywood, right? It doesn't get any more Hollywood than this. So you got like feature films, you got a lot of other folks. And what's interesting is a lot of the interest and feedback we get in Halo, it's still, people are very excited about it. They understand that it's much more about a tool that's designed to be a companion for them and to help them do their jobs better. So one of the interesting themes that's kind of coming up is not like, oh my gosh, this is going to take my job away, but it's like, oh, there's going to be fewer rehearsals, there's going to be fewer takes, and if there is a take, they don't look at me and say, did I get it? They realize that I'm going to be nailing focus, and therefore, you know, my job is a little bit more secure. I'm doing a better job of doing it. That's always really been our intent behind that. So it's been good. We're getting a lot of additional feedback here in terms of integrating with other remote systems, which we've always been thinking about, and we intend to do. We've got more interest, as I mentioned, in more of the reference tool kind of capability. So people interested in how they can replace a Cinetape or a sniper with that, and we have that capability as well. But it's always great to be, you know, here in Hollywood and hearing how major productions are approaching this kind of thing, and it's been really positive.
So now you talked about the camera control functionality. Is that done over LANC, or is there another interface system that you guys are going to be incorporating?
Well, interestingly, the answer is yes and a lot more. So our goal, you know, for example, I mentioned the 3-channel remote, camera run stop. There's an interface. We really like our interface. It's a beautiful graphical interface. Our goal is actually to remove the complexities of how it talks to the camera, not only in terms of like things like camera run stop, camera settings, but also in terms of the focus. So for example, if you're using like a Sony A7S and you have a Sony lens that focuses internally, we want to be able to control that lens and focus it. And if you put on, like, say, for example, a Zeiss Loxia lens or something that doesn't have internal, you put a motor on there, make a couple changes in our software configuration. To you, the control is exactly the same, but in terms of what's happening on the camera side, we're hiding that from you, so you don't have to worry about whether it's LANC or, you know, anything else, or whether it's actually a physical motor. And I think there's a real value in people getting that.
Now, I mean, that right there is unique, because there's been a lot of systems out there where they'll interface via USB, but you can get like lens stepping that happens.
Right.
Are you able to override that? Is your system going to be improved over some of those other ones out there?
Yeah, I mean, we expect, you know, we know the caliber for example, when you deal with creative focus control, the caliber of capability we're going to need in that regard. So we're certainly going to make sure that anything we're going to release is at that caliber. You know, what's really interesting is there are some new cameras coming out, like the Blackmagic, was a micro cinema camera that now has, you know, S-Bus and other types of controls that are going on that are going to be more closely integrated in with drones and that kind of stuff. So we're actually looking at ways in which we can support that. And again, one of these things where looking at the interface, you're not worried about how you're talking to the camera, how it's being used. You simply have the same interface regardless.
All right, so along the same lines of the internal focus, lenses that potentially have internal aperture control,
right.
You know, obviously if you have your Canon L series lenses or whatever like that, you can't add an iris control. You can add a focus control to it potentially, but iris is always internal. So having that interface, I'm assuming, would then work across the software as well.
Yeah, and that's the idea. And iris is a perfect example. If you're using cinema lenses, they all have iris control. If you're not, they tend to be used in the camera, and it's a great place where we want to just have the ability to set the iris, and you as an operator, as an owner, don't worry about exactly how that happens. We'll take care of that for you. And whether that's on a lens by lens basis or your incomplete setup, the idea is that it's just not an issue anymore.
Well, having still lenses sometimes limits your creative ability to do like an iris pull or something like that. And so, you have to work around that. I know many times where I've been, we can't walk indoor to outdoor or something like that. We got to do cuts. So that would really free, my focus puller, my AC to be able to do some stuff to free us up a little bit and still use existing gear that we have.
Great, yeah. So that's the idea, right?
All right. So, you guys are working on new features. What's the timeline for Halo?
Well, again, our target date is still getting something out there by end of the year. It's not necessarily going to be, I think, every single feature under the sun, but our hope is to actually have people start use it by end of the year. Our target price point, as I mentioned, we're still working on the configurations. There's a lot of components. It works right now with our micro remote system, so anybody who has a micro remote actually gets first in line for that and gets first access to Halo. But if you own that, then you don't have to buy a remote portion of it. And it's in the $2,000 to $5,000 range is the package price.
Will it be a la carte? I mean, like with your existing system, you can go as basic as a finger wheel all the way up to the wireless controller. Are there going to be different components that would go into it, or is it all going to be one?
Yeah, our expectation is, like a lot of our products, we pick 2 or 3 of the most obvious applications. So, for example, on the existing micro remote, you can have a finger wheel version for operator-controlled focus. We have a wireless version where you have somebody who's actually pulling focus wirelessly, and then all the parts, if you want both, if you want to do some sort of hybrid version, you can buy them component-wise and individually. And we expect Halo is going to be the same way, right? People may want to start out with a basic remote focus 3-channel and then add Halo later. Maybe they have a remote, they want to add Halo to it. That's all fine with us.
Right. So Halo's looking great. You have a new product that you want to show us that works really well with your micro remote and for small camera systems.
Yeah, thank you. So we have this new thing called a Rhino mount. The challenge that we always saw was, especially with some of these smaller cameras, the GH4, the Sony A7, the mirrorless, and even with DSLRs, is if you want to add any sort of motor for remote focus, or even just sort of basic accessories, just no easy way to do that. You got to add a cage, you got to sort of add all this gack, it adds weight. If you're working with a gimbal, it's really difficult to do that kind of stuff. So we came up with this thing called we call it the Rhino mount. This is a little 2-inch version. And what it is it's a surprisingly strong shoe mount clamp that gives you a rail coming out the front. It's why we call it a Rhino. It's like a horn, but it sits above your camera and it goes right up over the lens. I'm going to show you actually a different version. This is on our new Scout rig. As you can see, this is the 4-inch version. And what's really nice about this is we didn't, the system itself for using the motor is actually just sitting right on top of this shoe mount. And you can see as I'm moving it back and forth, probably not so much in the camera, but you, Tony, you can see this thing is just solid as a rock. So it's tricky to do rails and mounting for torque, for high torque situations like a motor where it's pushing a lot of energy there. And we developed it basically exactly for this. We have a special going on right now. It's $99 intro price. It's going to be, I think, for the first 50 orders. You can find it on our website. But Rhino mount is just a great way to add this really high torque, high capacity single rail for these smaller cameras that have a shoe mount.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I know that you have a 2-rail system that you've attached, kind of like a different version of this. But for certain systems it worked great, and other systems, if you're high torque, you can get flex in it.
Yeah.
So this, I've had a chance to play with it a little bit. The rigidity is much better, and it also reduces the size of your camera package as well. If you're trying to go minimalist and you don't need 2 rails, you can just go with the single.
Yeah, so the original 2-rail system was really kind of designed to be an extension of a rig. You could put stuff up there, you could put a handle, you could put torque motors. but it was never really designed to do this type of application. And in the last probably couple of years, we've really seen people wanting to get their systems as small as they possibly can. So the Rhino is really an evolution of that. It's like, well, we need something that's as small as possible, high torque situations. Over at the Panasonic booth, they have a GH4 where the entire remote system is on just one rail, and they put it onto a jib arm. And so it's incredible that you really don't need anything more than that.
That's awesome, yeah. For gimbal work, for small camera packages, that looks really cool.
Thank you.
So it's available now?
Available now, Rhino mount. We're doing, like I said, the intro is $99 for either a 2, 4, or 6-inch version, and it's available through our website right now, and eventually we'll be able through all our resellers.
Awesome. All right, so the Rhino mount looks really cool. I can see that coming in handy a lot, but you are sacrificing your cold shoe. And if you want to keep a minimalist rig, you don't want to add some more stuff to it. So if you have a monitor or something like that, is there any way that we could still have a cold shoe attachment on here?
Oh, so that's a great point. So as you mentioned, this goes into the shoe mount, and the question is, well, I was sort of using the shoe mount for a microphone or a light or something else. We actually literally just came out with this little shoe adapter, and you can of course put it anywhere, but you just kind of pop it onto this and slide it on. You put it in the front of the back, and this is sort of the replacement shoe for your shoe. So not only do you have the kind of minimalist rig, if you will, but now you have a place to put your other missing shoe accessories.
Awesome, and this is something people can buy separately too if they just need to add a shoe to their existing.
Yeah, so it turns out it actually works on any 15 mil rail. It's sort of really handy for this, but it's a great way to add a shoe mount capability pretty much anywhere you have a rig and a 15 mil rail.
Cool. So that's a 3D printed version. When is that going to be in production?
That's actually into production as we speak. They just sent me this because we were just kind of running over to Cine Gear, but should be available next week.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Brian.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks to our sponsors for making our Cine Gear coverage possible.